Jai Hind, gentlemen. I am Brigadier YVR Vijay here. I'm an ex-EME officer. I served in the EME for 30 years, after which I came out and then served in the renewable energy sector for the next 10 years. Today, I'm going to speak to you on a very interesting topic. And it's a topic which is much in the news, which is green hydrogen and India's hydrogen economy. As you're all aware, there's a huge market in this green hydrogen which is coming up. Basically, India has announced major plans to get into green hydrogen. It's got giant renewable energy plans. There's a large hydrogen infrastructure which needs to be built up. And there's a potential to reduce our import bill on oils by almost $130 billion a year. So 2 years back, on Republic Day, on our Independence Day, Prime Minister Modi at Red Fort said, of every effort being made by India today, the thing that is going to help India with a quantum leap in the terms of climate is the field of green hydrogen. To achieve the goal of green hydrogen, I am announcing the National Hydrogen Mission today with this tricolor as a witness. This was 2 years back. Subsequently, he has said green hydrogen is the future of the world. Today, I announce the setting up of the National Hydrogen Mission with the aim of becoming the new global hub of green hydrogen and also its largest exporter. In this year's budget, to fulfill this vision, 35,000 crores in priority capital investment has been committed till 2030 towards energy transition to green energy and also to achieve India's goal of net zero carbon emission by 2070. This was announced by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Specifically for green hydrogen, 19,700 crores was sanctioned by the government for the National Green Hydrogen Mission. So there's a very major thrust by India in the field of green hydrogen and green energy as well as net zero. So let us see now, before we get into the details of the economy and how hydrogen is manufactured, etc., some basics. So what are hydrogen's characteristics? First is it is a colorless and odorless gas. It does not spontaneously combust like gasoline. It's got a higher combustion temperature. Gasoline is 500 degrees centigrade and hydrogen about 570. It is the lightest weight gas. It has got an atomic number of 1. It's the lightest element known to man. Hydrogen liquefies that at a very low temperature. It's got an extremely low boiling temperature of minus 253 degrees centigrade. It's got a high combustion temperature of 3000 degrees centigrade, which shows that there's a lot of, it's very dense on energy. It produces no flames when burnt, and it burns clean. When you burn hydrogen, all you get is water. So there's no, emissions which are harmful when you burn carbon. Now let us understand the whole transportation system, manufacturing system. So let us see from where all do we get hydrogen. We get hydrogen through electricity, which acts on water. You have your hydrogen electrolysis and you get hydrogen. Another source of hydrogen is from methane, coal gasification and biomass gasification. This is a polluting source. Then you get hydrogen from your storage systems. So these are the basic sources of hydrogen, from electrolysis or from fuel-based production or from our storage. And where all is it used for? It is used to produce power through fuel cells, hydrogen turbines, and hydrogen combined heat power machines. It is used in industry, refining, steel production, oil and gas industry, concrete. You store it in pressure vessels for future use. You can use it in the gas grids and then further use it in buildings for heating and cooking. It can be used through fuel cells in the transport industry, cars, trucks, buses, trains. You synthesize it into methanol, ammonia, hydrocarbons through the Fischer-Tropsch process, and use it either in industry or in large consumption of power industries like shipping and aviation. So this is the entire chain of how hydrogen is created and where all is it used. Now, there are various types of hydrogen one hears of. So I'll just tell you about them. The best of them all is green hydrogen. This is hydrogen produced by the electrolysis of water when the power source is renewable. So there is no emission produced either in the generation of the power or in the production of hydrogen. The next is blue hydrogen. Blue hydrogen is produced from fossil fuels, but the carbon that is created is captured and stored or repurposed for other uses. Gray hydrogen, you use natural gas using steam methane reforming, but there is a lot of pollution which is created in the form of carbon dioxide. This is the most common form of hydrogen production in the world today. In case instead of renewable, if you use nuclear power, it is called purple, pink, some people call it red hydrogen. And this is also absolutely clean with zero carbon dioxide emissions. Then you have turquoise. Turquoise is like blue. It is produced by thermal splitting of methane, but instead of carbon dioxide, solid carbon black is produced. And solid carbon black is very useful in industry. It is used for tires, it is used in the rubber industry, it is used for battery manufacture. It's a big business. Then you have hydrogen from coal, which is brown or black hydrogen, it's called. In case we use electricity, which is the common electricity, not renewable or nuclear, but the normal grid electricity, it's called yellow hydrogen. And white hydrogen is there are a number of industrial processes where hydrogen is a byproduct. So that is white hydrogen. So these are the various types of hydrogen one often hears of. The areas which we are interested in would be massively towards green, but purple, pink, blue, and turquoise is also of great interest to us because even that contributes to net zero. So these are the areas of interest. Gray hydrogen is what we want to stop. It is where we use natural gas through a process, produce hydrogen, and a lot of pollution in the form of carbon dioxide is there. Blue hydrogen, natural gas, hydrogen is produced, but the carbon dioxide that is produced is stored or repurposed for other uses in underground storages. In green hydrogen, we use green electricity with water, electrolyze the water, we produce hydrogen. So these are the two big elements, green and blue, which people are looking at. Green hydrogen is from renewable energy resources, blue is from natural gas. Green approach to generating hydrogen is good for sustainability, but it's very costly currently. Blue provides for low carbon fuel generation at a lower cost than green hydrogen. So let's look at blue hydrogen. So blue hydrogen is an industry term for hydrogen produced from natural gas and supported by carbon capture and storage. The carbon dioxide generated during the manufacturing process is captured and stored permanently underground. In some cases, it is split up and you store pure carbon that becomes turquoise. Result is low carbon hydrogen that produces no carbon dioxide. Blue hydrogen may one day be the lowest cost option to help decarbonize industrial heating, residential heating in extremely cold climates and heavy duty vehicles. Already it is half the cost of green hydrogen. Let us see how carbon capture works. CCS or CCUS, carbon capture storage utilization systems, capture the carbon dioxide and inject it into deep geological formations for safe, secure, and permanent storage. It is a very important low carbon technology required to achieve our climate goals at the lowest cost, largely done by the cement and steel sectors, where there are no other near-term solutions to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions. So already cement and steel, which are as polluting as transport sector, are looking at carbon capture systems so that the carbon dioxide that is produced there gets captured. Green hydrogen is hydrogen produced using renewable electricity. It is basically using two technologies. One is the production of renewable power, and the second is electrolysis, which is the splitting of water to get hydrogen and oxygen. In case we want to go net zero, we need green hydrogen, we need extensive renewable power. This is the way to get ahead. And the third process is carbon capture from wherever else we are producing. Now, the oxygen produced in this whole process is released in the atmosphere, or it can be stored for other industrial uses. So now if we look at it, this is the International Renewable Energy Agency. I took this slide from their presentations. You have renewable energy here, and through the process of electrolysis, you produce hydrogen, which you directly use, or you use the hydrogen which is produced, mix it with carbon dioxide or nitrogen and produce methane, or you produce ammonia. Now, this pure hydrogen you can use by storing it in tanks in either high pressure form or in liquefied form, and you transport it by shipping, trucks or pipelines, or store it. And the end use of all this hydrogen is for industry, steel, chemical, the refineries, cement. In transport industry, shipping, aviation, cars, rail, trucks, buses. Heating, which is very heavily used in Europe, and of course for power generation. So let us look at now the heart of a green hydrogen system. It is the electrolyzer. Electrolysis is a process of using electricity to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. And this takes place in a unit called the electrolyzer. Electrolyzers range in size from small to giant large scale. You can make small electrolyzers even at home using a normal DC battery. But what we are interested in is the huge kilowatt scale or megawatt scale electrolyzers. There are three types. One is using a polymer electrolytic membrane electrolyzer, alkaline electrolyzer, and solid oxide electrolyzers. So the basic concept is at the anode we introduce water. There's a DC current applied across the electrolyte, and on the cathode side we get hydrogen. And anode side you get the oxygen. So there are two useful products from electrolysis. One is hydrogen and the other is oxygen. Now the current costs of large scale electrolyzer, the green hydrogen comes out at around $8 per kg of hydrogen. That's almost 600 rupees. But for every kg of hydrogen, you produce 8 kgs of oxygen. Remember, oxygen has an atomic molecular weight of 16. So it's 8 times hydrogen molecule. Now, if you sell this commercially, you can earn about $6 from the 8 kgs of oxygen. So if this whole system becomes more efficient, the net cost of a kg of green hydrogen is about $2 per kg, if you can capture all the oxygen efficiently. And that is the aim of the entire research, funding, etc. So how to get this cost down from $8 per kg by capturing all the useful products, by getting more efficient in the process, get it down to $2 and finally to $1 by 2050 per kg of hydrogen. So the three types, as I said, the first is polymer electrolyte membrane electrolyzer. It is electrolyzer water in a cell equipped with a solid polymer electrolyte. This is responsible for the conduction of protons, separation of the gases, and the insulation of the electrode. It has a proton exchange membrane. This is the costliest method of making green hydrogen, and it costs roughly 400 to 600 rupees a kg. The capital cost of a low volume PEM electrolyzer is almost 1.2 lakhs per kilowatt. That is something like 120 crores per megawatt. This is, and the 600 rupees a kg is based on renewable electricity prices of 3 rupees per kilowatt and on standard storage and transportation. So if you look at this structure of PEM electrolyzer, water is introduced on the cathode side. You get the DC source across, water is on the anode side. So hydrogen ions pass from the anode side to the cathode side. And one product you get is water plus hydrogen, and the other side you get a product of water plus oxygen. There's a gas diffusion layer in between. It's a fibrous porous medium. It ensures a uniform distribution of reactive gases so that the electrode life stays long. The second type of electrolyzer is the alkaline electrolyzer. This costs 1/3 of a PEM electrolyzer. The alkaline water electrolysis is characterized by having two electrodes which operate in a liquid alkaline electrolyte solution, typically KOH or NaOH, so potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide. So you have the anode side, you have the cathode side, you introduce water at the anode side, there's a current pass through, you have a hydroxide electrolyte solution, and you are producing oxygen at the anode side and hydrogen at the cathode side. The third type of electrolyzer is a solid oxide electrolyzer. Even this is cheaper than the PEM ones and roughly 1/3 the cost. So a solid oxide electrolyzer is a solid oxide fuel cell that runs in regenerative mode to achieve the electrolysis of water. It uses a solid oxide, a ceramic, or some sort of electrolyte to produce hydrogen and oxygen. It contains three basic components: a porous anode, an electrolytic membrane, and a porous cathode. So here in the center, you have the solid oxide electrolyzer cell. Water in the form of steam comes in. There is a current which comes from the renewable sources. Hydrogen is produced at the cathode side and oxygen is produced from the anode side. So let us look at the cost. Finally, it's all about cost. The current best process for water electrolysis has an effective electrical efficiency of 70 to 80%. So producing 1 kg of hydrogen, which has about 40 kilowatt kWh per kg, needs almost 55 kilowatt of electricity. So to produce 40 units of power from 1 kg of hydrogen, you need to consume 55 kilowatt of green power, green energy. Now, 1 kWh of green energy, that is from wind or solar, costs about rupees 250. So the cost of green power required is about rupees 125 for 1 kg of hydrogen. And 1 kg of hydrogen gives 40 kilowatt hours of energy. So on the face of it, it looks very inefficient, but we'll see as we go ahead. Now, 125 has gone into the production itself of 1 kg of hydrogen. Balance, you have the cost of the capex at the electrolyzer, storage. You got to transport it to the point of consumption, and all this costs almost rupees 500 per kg of hydrogen today. So total cost is almost 625 rupees per kg of hydrogen for 40 units of power. Now, these are the areas where a lot of work is going on to reduce the cost of production and reduce the cost of storage, transportation. But today, 1 unit of green hydrogen costs about 16 rupees per kilowatt hour versus 2 rupees 50 paisa per kilowatt of green energy. But these are early days. In fact, I must tell you that 10 years back when I got into the renewable energy sector, even solar power was 12 to 13 rupees a unit. And today it is close to 2 rupees a unit. So as research R&D goes into it, as volumes and scales of production come in and newer designs come in, costs will come down. Now, 1 kg of hydrogen can drive a car about 100 kilometers. So that works out to about rupees 6 per kilometer, which is already like petrol costs or even cheaper. So it's already become very attractive to use a hydrogen vehicle. But hydrogen is better suited for large haul transportation like ships, trucks. As you know, ideally, I would still use a battery for a smaller vehicle. But on the large haul transportation like ships and trucks, the battery weight makes it very costly. Similarly, hydrogen is better suited for industry, for green steel, for concrete, for the refineries, etc. So let us look at now hydrogen storage. So two methods of storing hydrogen. One is physical and the other is the material based. In physical, we compress it at high pressure, 300 to 1000 bar, and store it in cylinders. Or we cool it and pressurize it and hold it in cryo-compressed cylinders. The third is we bring it down, liquefy it at minus 253 degrees centigrade, and then store it. And these are transported to the point of usage, and then you can reuse it. Another method is by producing the hydrogen and then putting it into various elements like ammonia, methane. So the various methods of this is, one is using an adsorbent. You have activated carbon, also an element called zeolite, in which you can store hydrogen. You can store it in liquid organic elements like methyl cyclopentane. You can store it in hydrates like lanthanum nickel hydrogen mixture, LaNi5H6, in the form of complex hydrides like sodium aluminum hydrides, or in chemical hydrogen like ammonia, methane, etc. Now, a lot of work has already started going in. There are people in India itself, large companies, which have got into the physical-based storage. The hydrogen gas cylinder manufacturers in India, major ones, I've given a list of some of them. So there's a lot of work going on in India. And there's many more companies who are keenly looking at this storage aspect. It's a great opportunity. As far as the material side, it's the fertilizer industry, which is a major ammonia producer. They are currently using hydrogen by gray hydrogen, but once the green hydrogen comes up, there'll be a great source of producing ammonia, which can be again refractored and used as hydrogen. And methane is basically from the gas industry, the CNG, LNG producers in India. So you have Bhoruka gas, Mahanagar gas, Gujarat gas, Adani gas, Petronet LNG. There are a number of companies involved in methane production of CNG and LNG. Coming to the storage. Now, as I said, hydrogen has a high energy storage per kg, but it has a very low ambient temperature, occupies massive space. So you need to really put it under high pressure of 350 to 1000 bar. In case you want to store it in a liquid form, it requires cryogenic coolers and you have to get it down to minus 253 degrees centigrade. It can also be stored on the surfaces of solids by adsorption or within the solid by absorption. So this is the structure of their typical hydrogen cylinder. So the inner portion is metallic. You have a high density polymer liner, carbon fiber composites on the liner. You have a dome protection. You have temperature sensors. So it's pretty costly right now. I had already given the list of hydrogen gas cylinder manufacturers. There are already quite a few in India, and they're looking at improving their design and also to handle higher pressures and liquefied hydrogen. So let us understand now the whole scale of how it goes on. How do we transport hydrogen? We can transport it by the pipeline route or create ammonia and send hydrogen across, and on the other side you crack the ammonia and get back hydrogen. You can liquefy the hydrogen route, or you can send it as a liquid organic hydrogen carrier, methane. So you produce hydrogen through renewable energy. This is the electrolyzer portion. The hydrogen that is created, pipeline route is you compress it, send it on a pipeline, send it on this pipeline to storage, and the other side you can use it again as normal hydrogen. In the ammonia route, you get green nitrogen also through using renewable energy from air, make ammonia, send it by shipping route or through other transport means to the other far end. Have ammonia cracking process where you remove the nitrogen and you use the hydrogen. Liquefied hydrogen route is you have cryogenic coolers, you liquefy the hydrogen to minus 253 degrees centigrade, send it in containers across. At the other end, you vaporize it and reuse it. And the methane route using liquid organic hydrogen carriers, you have a hydrogenation plant, and this methane can go either by ship or by other means, reach the other end where you dehydrogenate it and use it as hydrogen. So this shows the entire value chain of the hydrogen economy. Now, in India, the top green hydrogen investing companies are ONGC. ONGC is very huge and much more than Reliance and then Adani, whom we read of more. Then you have, of course, Reliance, BPCL, Indian Oil. So a lot of oil industry is very consciously switching to green. They have invested massively in renewable energy. They are investing massively in green hydrogen. You have Jindal Stainless, you have Jindal Energy, JSW Energy Limited. NTPC is a big player in this. They were otherwise only a power utility, but now they are involved in the entire green energy chain in wind and solar as well as in green hydrogen. Adani Green, Gas Authority of India Limited, and L&T. So if you look at the hydrogen economy for India, by 2030, the government is looking at least 5 to 7 million metric tons of green hydrogen as annual production. And for this, we need about 60 to 100 gigawatts of electrolyzer capacity. And the power for this whole thing is about, as I said, 25% more. You need 125 gigawatt renewable energy capacity for green hydrogen generation and for the associated transmission network. Total outlay approved in this year's budget is almost 20,000 crores. And what this will result is a huge amount of savings. These are rough figures here. 1 lakh crores in our oil bill reduction. 50 million metric tons of carbon emissions will be averted. There'll be an investment of almost 8 lakh crores. 8 lakhs crores is something like $100 billion. And it will create a massive job sector, 6 lakh jobs. But this is outwardly. But if you look at the hardcore costs which will have to come in, is investment on electrolyzers will cost us about $100 billion for 100 gigawatts. Renewable energy, 125 gigawatt will cost us $125 billion. Storage transportation will cost us another $100 billion. And our annual saving on the import of fuel is about $130 billion. So there's a giant economy which is going to come up, which is based on green hydrogen and renewable power. And the whole industry is a $1 trillion industry, which will come up by 2050. India, as you know, is just almost a $3 trillion economy. So by 2030 or so, 1 trillion, 1/3 of what is today, will be coming through the green hydrogen mission. Now, the key question is, what is the best route for India? Green hydrogen will take time because India needs renewable energy for its normal electricity targets before I can divert 125 gigawatt for manufacture of green hydrogen. Blue hydrogen can happen faster. We can use normal power and carbon capture. Turquoise hydrogen can also happen faster, and we can use normal power and pure carbon, black carbon results, which is a very valuable resource. And finally, of course, we can use nuclear power, red and pink hydrogen. It's as good as green, but it needs very advanced safety processes. So the likely future, which we see by 2030 and onwards to 2050, is hydrogen will be used for the large haul transportation, the trucks, the large trucks, maybe the locomotive industry, shipping, green steel, green concrete, cement factories, oil refining factories will use green hydrogen or blue hydrogen. The hydrogen India will produce will be a mix of various types. There will be green hydrogen, blue, turquoise, maybe red, pink, with lots of carbon capture systems. And there will be a growth in the oxygen manufacture industry and also in the solid carbon manufacture industry, which comes through the carbon capture system. So there will be a number of associated industries which will spring up. You have the storage industry, the transportation industry, oxygen industry, carbon industry, which will spring. Smaller vehicles, the cars and below, cars, four-wheelers, three-wheelers, two-wheelers, will most probably continue to be battery electric vehicles because they are much, much more efficient. The cost of running today, hydrogen car is about 6 rupees a kilometer. A battery electric vehicle is less than 1 rupee a kilometer. Train systems will be electricity, but they could be hydrogen. Right now, people feel it may not be hydrogen, but it could be hydrogen. But almost all our trains today are running on electrified routes. So that's the likely future of green hydrogen or hydrogen and the Indian economy. Thank you. Jai Hind.